it was a chapel service at Oral Roberts University. It was not Pastor Roberts who was leading the chapel service. It was another evangelist that was there, a lady. Vicki Jameson Peterson was her name. And she was having a healing line. God was manifesting healing gifts. And a number of students went forward to receive healing. There was a girl that came up, one of the students. And when she went forward and had hands laid upon her, she felt something. Some people, when God touches them, they feel something. She had significant respiratory problems. She could not participate in any type of athletic events. She could not participate in physical education classes there at the college. She could not. And there on stage, she said, "Oh!" And she could breathe differently. And Vicki Jameson Peterson said, "What's happening?" She said, I can feel something. And she said, "Well, what has been your problem?" And she said, "I've had this lung condition. I'm sitting out there." The chapel was big. It held 3,000 people. So I'm sitting out there and I'm listening. She said, "I haven't been able to breathe well. I have a respiratory condition." And she described what it was. And so Vicki said, "Well, what is it that you can't do?" And she says, "Well, physically, I can hardly do anything. Walking across campus will sometimes wind me. But I can't run and I can't do this." She said, "Well, if God's healed you, why don't you run?" And that girl ran down the steps. Remember, this is a big chapel. It holds 3,000 people. She ran around the entire outside of the chapel, came around that side, back up to the stage. She was a little bit, and Vicki said, "Do it again." And she runs around again. And she comes back, and when she comes back the second time, there are such tears pouring down her face. Why? She hasn't done it in years. And as she's running around the second time, those of us in the chapel, all of a sudden, we are applauding, we are on our feet, we're yelling, we're saying, "It's Jesus, it's Jesus." It was astonishment and wonder. God did a miracle that afternoon at chapel. And then I had to go to my English class. Actually, I went to lunch first. And guess what was being talked about at lunch? And guess what was talked about that evening in our dorms? Guess what was talked about in our English class? Healing of God manifesting itself in a chapel service. Astonishment and wonder. The young lady went back to her doctor, and it was confirmed that her lungs had been healed, and the condition she had dealt with for years was gone. It was written up in a newsletter, in a magazine. That is the healing power of our God.